Hi, my name is Mim Beim and welcome to Ask the Naturopath, episode 5. Today I'm going to talk about sinusitis. So sinusitis is an inflammation of the sinuses, and the sinuses are hollow bones in the skull. Apparently they're to make the skull lighter, but we've got about 5 of them. But the ones you can mainly feel are the ones here. These are called the maxillary. So if you know your sinuses are inflamed, if you press there, just beside the nose and in, just with a bit of pressure, and it's tender. And these are the frontal sinuses that also can feel tender. And then there are these ones, the ethmoid and sphenoid, kind of like a bit further up, and they can also feel like your eyes are very heavy. So sinuses should drain into the nasal cavity. But when the mucous membrane that lines the sinuses becomes inflamed, this is called sinusitis, itis meaning inflammation. And it can be acute, meaning it just is fairly short term and it will resolve, or it can be chronic. And these are the people that I usually see. So chronic means long term. So when those mucous membranes that line the sinuses become inflamed, they produce mucus. That's their job. All right, mucus should be washing things away, but however, unfortunately, when it stays around, it's this fantastic fuel for bugs, particularly bacteria. And so that's when it becomes infected sinusitis. And it's often treated with antibiotics. So here are some things that I often recommend for my patients to help them get over their sinusitis, but particularly if they're prone to sinus problems, to prevent the sinus. That cat noise was my cat, Mackie. Thanks, Mac. You're adding to the video. So one of the first most important things to do is to have plenty of fluids, because you don't want that mucus hanging around becoming sticky and becoming the fuel for the bacteria. So having about 3 litres of fluids daily is an absolute must. One way you can have the fluids, so it doesn't have to be water, but water's great, but herbal teas, and this is a tea that I often recommend, and it's tea that contains, let me just get these out, lemon, the juice of 1 lemon, the rind of half a lemon, some fresh thyme, and you can smell the aromatic therapeutic essential oil in the thyme, so a fair bit of that. Some honey, and this is a local honey, and some ginger, so chopping out some ginger or grating it, putting all of that in a teapot and having 3 or 4 cups of that a day is also very good. Now, the other thing that you should do regularly if you are a sinus sufferer is to rinse the nasal cavity. And I used to recommend neti pots, which are the traditional way to do this. They're often made out of metal or ceramic, and you can still do that. However, I actually think these plastic ones are quite good because you can get more pressure. I know that's ecologically not fantastic to say, but I think they are better. The important thing to do with these is that you must throw them out every 3 months, because they too can grow bugs, and you don't want that. So there are several brands. I've got a Flow here, there's Fess, there's Sinus Rinse, there's several around, and all around the world they're available. So you fill it up with warm water and a teaspoon of salt. However, you can also get sachets. And I won't show you on camera, but it goes up and it should come out the other nostril. If it goes down the back of your throat, you're doing it incorrectly. And you've probably got your head back a little bit. So it's kind of forward and to the side. There are plenty of YouTube videos on this. Twice a day. If it doesn't come through and you're too congested for this, maybe you've got a big infection, leave it for a while until it does run through, it comes out the other nostril. So you do each side. And for those who have had lots and lots and lots of antibiotics, the chances are that I'll go back. If you've got ongoing infection and you can't seem to get rid of it, then I want you to use saline plus xylitol. I'll put it in the notes underneath the video. Xylitol is spelt with the Xylitol. And yes, for those who for whom it sounds familiar, it is an artificial sweetener, but its other role is disrupting biofilm. So biofilm is like an invisible cloak that bacteria and fungi can pull over them when they've become really entrenched into, say, the mucous membranes of the sinuses, and it prevents antibiotics and herbs from having a good go at them. So this xylitol is a biofilm disruptor. So sometimes I suggest people to buy the sachet, and that those are available. You can buy xylitol on its own, but I just think it's too fussy. Just get the sachet that are combined saline and xylitol. So that's twice a day. Okay, so what else can you do? Well, I would suggest you avoid sugar for a whole host of reasons. I think in my first video I talked about the perils of Satan's crystals. But sugar, everyone loves sugar, including bacteria, including fungi. So, just don't give them what they truly desire. Other dietary suggestions, and this is for a challenge. Are you sensitive, or do you have an allergy, a food allergy, which is contributing or maybe even the cause of your sinus? Could be. So if you are not sure, then either take out dairy or gluten. It's more likely to be dairy. And so this is so it's milk, it's cream, it's ice cream, it's cheese, it's chocolate. I'm very sorry. What else am I missing? That's about yogurt, maybe. And it's not the lactose, it's not the milk sugar, it's the casein, the milk protein. And that would be a true allergy. You will know within a month. So just avoid dairy for a month, and if you're much better, then it's probably a thing. And maybe you can have a little bit. You can have some dairy at some time, but you'll know if it's a thing. Likewise with the gluten, in my experience, it's more the snot goes with the dairy rather than with the gluten, but it could be either. So that's a dietary challenge you could try. Then there are herbs, and this is where I'm very, very grateful I'm a herbalist, because herbs are magnificent for sinusitis. So we use herbs that are both antibiotic, and this can be antimicrobial, so it could be for bacteria and fungi. And I was about to say this before, but I'll talk about it now, that if you've had a lot of antibiotics for your sinus, and a lot of people have over the years, then two things are happening. One, you've either got a very resistant bacteria that's not going to succumb to the antibiotics that are normally used, or two, it could be a fungal infection in there. I know, right? So, and that's because the antibiotics that are pharmaceutical are for bacteria. Luckily, the antimicrobials that we use herbally are both antibacterial and antifungal. So these include, and I particularly love, golden seal. Golden seal or barberry, it contains a substance called berberine. So there are a number of herbs that contain berberine, and that's what you'd look for. The other herb that I love is also a food. It's garlic. And yes, eat a lot of garlic, but the amount that we really need therapeutically is probably a little bit more than is going to be found in your spag bowl. I use products that are freeze-dried organic whole garlic, and that way you're getting all of the compounds that are very antimicrobial. The other thing about garlic is that it's what we call mucolytic, which means it breaks down mucus and makes it easy to drain away. So very often I will just use garlic as a supplement and golden seal as a supplement. But other herbs include elder, echinacea, eyebright, golden rod is another one as well. So any of those herbs, and I go high dose for a short amount of time until we see the results. And then if someone's had sinus problems for years, I will then probably suggest at least a month continuing, so we really get rid of it and forever. Okay, vitamin C and zinc also really good. Take regularly, take daily, once or twice a day, 20 milligrams of zinc, and take it after meals because zinc can make you nauseous. And finally, where would I be without recommending breathing exercises? So Buteyko breathing exercises are fantastic for helping treat and prevent sinus. So I've got a whole playlist on Buteyko. check it out, and thank you again.